I'm a photography tutor both online and in person, and here are some things I see over and over and over. Here are 7 things to look out for in your own work. You're experimenting with negative space, but your subject is leading out of the frame instead of into it. Now this is just one human sort of thing where it's just pleasing for our eye to have the eye line of your subject leading into the frame, and it just tells the story a heck of a lot better than if it's leading out. If it's leading out, it seems quite unbalanced and a little bit accidental. If it's leading in, the viewer has an eye journey. You know, you start the subject and off we go into the negative space. And that is a much better way to use negative space, so think about that next time. Number 2, this can happen at any level of photography actually, and I've been guilty of it in the past. Oh boy, yes I have. Over editing. So you get a great image that you might have composed very, very well, and somehow it goes from that to becoming worse than it is because you over edit. This could be using too many sort of presets that are a little bit bold. Something I was guilty of in the past was following trends almost with editing. So I did a little bit of orange and teal in my time, and then I went completely in the opposite direction and went a little bit more desaturated. And sometimes just a nice timeless edit is something very simple. Add a little bit of contrast, change the colour grading a little bit. My everything preset, plug, I really like the colour balance, and I really do use it for basically everything because it's a great starting point without things being over edited. Shooting people or animals pew, 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 at the wrong eye level. So if you have a tiny subject like a child or a dog, which is much more my cup of tea, definitely get down to their level. If you start shooting down at them, it comes over as a little bit. Do you know, if you were shooting someone to look meek and mild, you would stand over them and they'd be looking up at the camera and they would be very small in the frame, and it's sort of a very passive sort of pose. I think to get down on their level shows the world from their point of view and is a much more pleasing way to shoot people and animals. Using photography techniques as the sole purpose of the image. Ooh, this is a controversial one, and I bet we've all been guilty of this. So all these techniques that we use, whether it's light trails at night or long exposures during the day or following the rule of thirds or reflections, these are not techniques for technique's sake. They should always serve a story. So if you go out and think, oh, I've got a lovely new 1000 ND filter, let me go shoot some streams and make it all misty, that's great, but you need to incorporate the technique into an image that makes sense. Otherwise it's just a set piece of going, I technically know how to do this, isn't that cool? So story always must come first. And sometimes, using that as an example, the longer exposure might not be the right thing to do. I've seen so many dramatic, moody landscapes where I just think, I kind of wish the water was frozen in place because that would give more energy to the scene, which is what they were going for with the story. So only use these techniques if it follows your story of the scene. And it's great to go out, to be fair, to just learn how to do these things, that's fine. But once you progress past that point and they're in your toolbox, I don't know why I have a toolbox on my back, but I'm going with it, that's when you need to use them to serve the story. This video is sponsored by me, a new set of presets. We have one pack for portraits, landscapes and cityscapes. Those are all pretty good for most things, to be honest, they're really, really good. It will work for video, photo, Lightroom and Luminar, but wait, there's more. You can also use these on Lightroom Mobile even if you don't subscribe to Creative Cloud. Follow the link below or go to microphonenerds.com. As I was saying, number 5, a throwback from 2012, selective colour. I think this is very similar to the last point where people learn how to do it and it's like, woo, I can do this now, that's cool. But no amount of selective colour, aside from it being very dated and very cliche, will save an average image. A lot of my students might send me, say, a postbox on a road and it's red and everything else is black and white, and that's great. But if you put the colour back into the image, there isn't really anything going for it. So don't do it for its sake, and maybe just don't do it at all. Using black and white editing thoughtlessly. This is something that I've given a lot of thought to during my own editing process over the years. And my general rule of thumb is, if the colours are a distraction rather than a benefit of the image, then it's probably going to work really well in black and white. Sometimes in the city you'll get a lot of contrasting colours and there might be sort of different coloured signs all over the place and it isn't really cohesive. So in those situations it can be really handy to just knock it all in black and white, and then we're working on the textures and the composition rather than the distracting colours. Another time that I use black and white a lot is if I'm shooting in fluorescent lighting, sort of in wedding venues maybe, because my goodness, getting people's skin tones right in those situations is so hard, and the colours of the dresses might not come out exactly right. So if you make it black and white, you focus on the gorgeous moment or the gorgeous person or the gorgeous object. I think if you use black and white thoughtlessly, just by, you know, throwing it on a random photo, you can actually make an image a lot worse. Only use it if the colour is a distraction rather than a benefit. Number 7, choosing the wrong verticals in an image. Sometimes if you're working with architecture or you've got a lot going on, or if you shoot something to one side, you may have a couple of competing verticals in your shot. And it's very important that you choose the dominant one to make it pleasing to the eye. Sometimes people have straightened one, and that's great, that you can tell that they've straightened something in the image, but it's not the one to go for. You need it to be the dominant one so it's much more pleasing to our little human brains that like symmetry and order. These tips are only half the story though. If you would like to level up your photography faster, watch this video next, which is 5 reasons you're not improving as a photographer and how to get better fast.